Hello, Year 7. So, welcome to Lesson 6 of our Circle of Life Biology topic. Okay, so today we are going to be looking more at plants, whereas we've been looking more at animals in previous lessons. Okay, so our driving question today, how do plants make food? Okay, so you can see that pause symbol up in the corner, which means you're going to have to pause the video on this slide. So what I want you to do, just as a starter activity, think back to that topic right at the beginning of the year where we did cells, and try and remember as many parts of a plant cell as you can, okay? Don't worry if you can only think of one or two, that's absolutely fine. We're thinking back quite a long way. But what can you remember about a plant cell? Okay, you don't need to write it down, save the writing for the written phase at the end of the lesson. So what I want you to do is have a think on that and pause the slide now. Okay, so let's see how we all did. So there are some parts of the plant cell which are the same as animal cells. So that's the cytoplasm, which is like the jelly-like substance that fills the cell. The nucleus, okay. The cell membrane, which is the inner membrane here. And the mitochondria, okay? And that's the site of respiration. So those are the ones that are found in both plant and animal cells. The ones that are only found in plant cells are this cellulose cell wall. Remember, plants don't have skeletons to keep them sturdy and strong. They've got this cell wall instead, which is made out of a really strong substance. They've got this permanent vacuole here, which is filled with sap. And then you've got the chloroplast here, okay, which is filled with a chemical which we're going to be talking about in a little bit. And chloroplasts are what makes plants green, okay? So plants need to carry out a process called photosynthesis, okay? So that's where they use the sunlight in order to make their food, okay? So you can actually see it in the word photosynthesis. So photo means light, okay? So sunlight, it needs to use sunlight. And synthesis, to synthesize something, synthesis is making something, okay? So photosynthesis means making something out of light, okay? And there are three things the plants need in order to carry out this process. So those things are sunlight, obviously, it's in the name, okay? So the photo part of photosynthesis is for the sunlight. It needs carbon dioxide, okay? And it needs water. So these are the reactants, okay? So they're the things that react together in order to make the reaction happen. And the products, the things that are produced, the things that are made, are the sugar glucose and the gas oxygen. Okay, so sunlight, carbon dioxide and water, the reactants. So where does a plant get these from? Okay, so the sunlight, the leaves of the plant absorb the sunlight from the sun's rays, okay? So sunlight enters the plant through the leaves. Carbon dioxide, okay, so we'll talk a bit about the leaf structure in the next lesson, but basically the leaves have little holes in which let the carbon dioxide in, okay, so the carbon dioxide also enters through the leaves. And the water, well, if you water a plant, you water the soil, okay, that's because the roots are under the soil, so the water enters the plants via the roots, okay? So sunlight and carbon dioxide enter the plant through the leaves, the water enters the plant through the roots, okay? So, really quick recap, okay? So you've got all the words that you need down the bottom. What I'm going to ask you to do is put them into the correct order in the equation of photosynthesis. So the reactants need to go on the left-hand side of the equation, the products need to go on the right-hand side. You don't need to write it down, just in your head say, what are the reactants, what are the products? So if you pause the video now, Okay, let's see how we all did. So what you should have had are that the reactants are carbon dioxide, water and sunlight. Remember, the carbon dioxide and the sunlight go through the leaves. The water comes through the roots of the plant. And the products that are made in this equation are glucose and oxygen. Okay, so we've said what it needs and how it gets what it needs, okay? But where does it actually happen? So within plant cells, there are organelles called chloroplasts, okay? This is what we talked about during the starter activity. These chloroplasts contain a chemical called chlorophyll, and this chemical is what makes the plant green, okay? And within this chemical, that's where photosynthesis happens, okay? So that's where this reaction is carried out within the plant, okay? So we've said how they carry out photosynthesis, but why do they need to do it? Well, if you have a think, the plants need to get food, okay? If we need energy, if we need food, we can eat, but the plant doesn't have that ability. So they need to come up with another way of getting that food. So they make it, okay? They synthesize it, and that's that synthesis part of the photosynthesis word. So plants need to carry out photosynthesis in order to make glucose, that sugar. They need this glucose in order to carry out respiration. Remember, respiration is the reaction that happens that allows us to get energy. Respiration is needed for growth and repair in the plant. So the plant needs to carry out photosynthesis in order to grow, repair itself, okay? So, quick recap, you can see that pause symbol again. Remember, you're not writing anything down, you're saving it for the written phase at the end. So answering these questions, you can have a chat to anyone else that's in the room with you. Okay, why do plants carry out photosynthesis? Where does it happen? If you pause the slide now. Okay, so they carry out photosynthesis to make energy for growth and repair. Okay, if you've included that they make glucose to get energy for growth and repair, fantastic, well done. And where does it happen? It happens in the chlorophyll. If you've said the chloroplast, that's absolutely fine, okay? It's just that the chlorophyll is found within the chloroplast. Okay, so what I want you to do, have a quick read through which of these is false. So if you have a read through, decide which one is false and pause the slide now. Okay, so let's have a read through these. So A, plants use sunlight in photosynthesis. Well, remember we've said that the photo means light. So yes, plants do use sunlight in photosynthesis. Photosynthesis occurs in the chlorophyll. Yeah, that's true. Okay, that's that chemical found in the chloroplast, and that's where photosynthesis happens. Oxygen is a product of photosynthesis. Products are the things that are produced, the things that are made, and oxygen is made during this process of photosynthesis, so that's true. So our false answer was B, okay, because if we have a look at the previous slide, it says plants use glucose during photosynthesis. They don't, they make it, okay? Glucose is a product, okay? If you got that right, brilliant, well done. If not, you can rewind the video, rewatch it, okay? Or if I've explained everything and you've understood it now, brilliant. So, really quick recap. What are the 3 things a plant needs to carry out the process of photosynthesis? And how do those things get into the plant, okay? So again, no need to write them down, just have a think. And if you pause the slide now. Okay, so you should have had that the 3 things a plant needs are sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. And you should have had that sunlight and carbon dioxide get into the plant through the leaves, and that water gets into the plant through the roots. Okay, so we're on to our written phase. Have a look. So working towards name 3 things plants need and describe how they enter the plant. Working at explain why plants do photosynthesis and where this happens. Working beyond, write a word equation for photosynthesis and explain how energy is involved. And then explain the link between photosynthesis and respiration in plants for working beyond plus. So I've forgotten to put the pause symbol in the corner here, but we normally have 10 to 15 minutes for this in lessons. So give yourself the same amount of time. You can go back, rewatch to answer any questions you may have, because obviously we're not here to answer them for you. So 10 to 15 minutes. If you pause the slide, and then we'll go through answers. So pause it now. Okay, so let's see how we've all done. Okay, so the three things plants need are sunlight, water, carbon dioxide. They enter the plant. Okay, the sunlight and carbon dioxide enter the plant through the leaves. The water is taken up into the plant by the roots. Explain why plants do photosynthesis and where it happens. Plants carry out photosynthesis because it makes the energy they need for growth and repair. This happens in the chlorophyll of the plant. Again, if you've said it happens in the chloroplast, that's fine. So our working beyond, the word equation for photosynthesis is water plus carbon dioxide plus sunlight makes glucose and oxygen. So it doesn't matter what order you've got these in either side of the, as long as they're on the right side of the equation. Okay, so if you've put sunlight, carbon dioxide and water, it doesn't matter about the order, as long as they're on the right side of the arrow, the correct side of the arrow. So the way energy is involved in photosynthesis is that energy in the form of sunlight is converted into glucose, okay? The glucose then supplies the plant with the energy it needs for growth and repair. Okay, so the plant takes the energy from the sunlight and turns it into a form that it can use for growth and repair. And then explain the link between photosynthesis and respiration. So during photosynthesis, energy from sunlight is converted into glucose and oxygen. Glucose and oxygen are the reactants needed for respiration in the plant. Remember, this process of respiration is how energy is released. So the glucose and oxygen are used in order to release energy during respiration, which is then used by the plant for growth and repair. Okay, so let's write our sentence. So today I've achieved, remember it's the word, not the colour or the level. Today I've achieved because I could, and make sure you put the reason down to really evaluate what you've achieved from this lesson. Remember, this is probably even more important to do know your home learning, okay? And then make sure you go on to show my homework and do the 10 question quiz that's on there, okay? So that's how we're tracking how everybody's doing, that everyone's on track. So make sure you go on to show my homework and do the quiz. Okay, I will see you next lesson, year 7, okay? Keep safe and you'll hear from me soon.